The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand at the forefront. Senator Imee Marcos led a Senate hearing yesterday questioning not only the manner but also the urgency of the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte and his transfer to the ICC, a move that directly contradicts the stance of her brother, President Bongbong Marcos. The Senate probe fueled speculations about division within the administration, even as the country grapples with the political fallout between the Marcos and Duterte camps. While a recent survey showed that most Filipinos want former President Duterte to be held accountable to the ICC, Senate bets allied with him have seen a surge in preferential surveys, triggered by the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. How will these unfolding events shape the country's political landscape, leading to the May elections and beyond? Joining us this morning is the President and CEO of the Political Economic Elemental Researchers and Strategists, or PEERS, and Professorial Lecturer at the San Beda University Graduate School, Professor Edmund Tayaw. Good morning, Professor Ed.
Good morning, Attorney Karen.
Let's start first with the Senate hearing held yesterday. So why do you think it was Senator Imee, out of all the 24 senators, no less than the sister of President Bongbong Marcos, that led the Senate hearing investigating the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte?
Well, to be candid about it, I can only think of two reasons. No, one, she needs it, particularly when it comes to getting her re-elected back to office. No? Second, it's a vintage Senator Imee. I mean, it's not the first time that she's going to contradict her brother. The president is a younger brother of Senator Imee. And for those who've been closely observing and following political stories, particularly the stories of political families, ever since, there's always this, to say the least, or for lack of a better term, unique personality on the part of Senator Imee, even when they were still young. So there's always this tendency to, I don't know, probably contradict or even question some of the decisions or some of the moves of any one of the members of the family.
But when you say that this is to contradict President Bongbong Marcos, is this for the sake of contradicting, or do you think there's also some personal conviction there in terms of her belief that there was really a lot of irregularities in the arrest?
I can't really say for certain what, I mean, as far as this particular issue is concerned. It seems that I've seen a bit of the Senate investigation yesterday. But admittedly, I didn't finish it. To be honest,
watched the whole thing, 5 hours.
To be honest, yeah. I don't see, I kind of disagree with the need for that Senate investigation for so many reasons. But anyway, yeah, I don't know exactly whether it's by way of conviction or that she's really convinced that there was something onerous in the arrest, or that it's plain and simple political. In fact, when she was interviewed, I think that was already the end of the investigation. If there's a follow-up investigation, she quipped and said, I don't know just yet. She's suspending judgment in the sense that she's still probably gathering more information. But the fact that she said she's not even sure if there's going to be a second investigation. To my mind, it's plain and simple playing on the situation.
Playing on the situation, meaning gathering support? From where?
From the public. I mean, even the followers or the allies of the former president has already called Senator Imee as too late, at the very least, too late the hero. She's been called so many different names and so on and so forth. No? In fact, there was even, I don't know, a meme or a post that I saw on social media that, yun na nga, makinig pero wag magpaloko, no? Something to that effect. So in other words, I'm not sure how exactly the public saw the Senate investigation. No? And there were also contradictory remarks, from Senator Bongo, if I'm not mistaken, and even to a certain extent, Senator Alan Cayetano. So
contradictory remarks against Senator Imee or relating to what?
Some of the lines of Senator Imee. No? Again, I didn't see the whole video, but I just saw the reactions in the social media.
What were the majority of the reactions, or what do you sense as the sentiment?
We at Peers actually have a way of monitoring all media reports and even social media reactions, no? Positive and negative reactions. My bad that I didn't look at our metrics this morning, but I suppose it's a mixed reaction on the part of the public. In the same manner that when the impeachment was the talk of the town before the arrest, many were saying that it is going to result to more support on the part of the vice president. No? But as it turned out, it's really mixed reaction. There were more Filipinos, there were more people, who really wanted to find out, what happens as far as the impeachment case is concerned. And so I'd like to think that this is the same scenario as
the Senate investigation?
As far as the arrest of the former president is concerned. I think there was a survey that came out just very recently.
More than half of
That's
Filipinos
right. Exactly.
want to, I think the word was accountable, to hold
That's right.
former President Duterte accountable.
That's right.
But we had Dr. Guido David of Octa Research here yesterday, and I asked him that question because it seems to, I guess, not align, or it's difficult to see if there is any correlation between that survey where we have it here, more than 51% say na dapat bang panagutin si former President Duterte sa mga EJK, or I think the word was killings related to the anti-drug war. But in all the recent senator preferential surveys, a lot of the PDP Laban candidates gained momentum or gained ground. So we were asking, do you see any relation with this, or perhaps they are not related? But Dr. Guido David said that perhaps this is more of people wanting to see accountability and hearing the case, but not necessarily prejudging that former President Duterte is indeed guilty of that.
Well, definitely, there's no prejudging the guilt of the former president. No? But the way I interpret these numbers simply suggests that they want the process to go through so that we'll actually find out what actually happened. In fact, this long talk, you're the lawyer, and correct me if I'm wrong, but surrendering the former president to the ICC is not surrendering one's sovereignty. I find it rather unusual to jump to that conclusion. I mean, he was mayor, and in fact, much of the numbers that were used to file a case against him in the ICC were records of when he was mayor of Davao City, and for obvious reasons, no one dared to file a case against him.
Yeah.
At least not one prospered. No,
Yeah.
No one even filed a case in Manila, which they could have done. Even if he was just mayor of Davao City. All the more will anyone file a case when he was already president. So at that time, really, even if, I couldn't agree more that we have a functioning legal system, but the fact that there were some limitations and challenges to the particular case of the former president, there clearly was a reason for ICC to be the recourse of many of those affected by the so-called EJ case. So, in other words, I'm inclined to think that the interpretation of these numbers should not be should not be interpreted or seen as prejudging the pending ICC case, except that what people want to find out really is, how the cases, will be presented and figure, how exactly the president is culpable.
But I'll ask you, Professor Ed, is there also some political strategy to this?
Meron.
Because one of the things that is necessary for the ICC to have jurisdiction, because by nature, they are supposed to complement the judicial system of our country and not supplant it. And in this case, there were investigations that were initiated at the time when former President Duterte, as you mentioned, here, was just a mayor. And at that time, he was not in power in a sense that it was Laida de Lima who was Secretary of Justice. But no cases were filed. We don't know the details of that. So I guess the same for you and me. We're wondering why no cases were filed back then when he was just mayor and you have a national official who were clearly at odds with him, Secretary de Lima. And then years later, now there were Quadcom hearings leading up to this ICC arrest. And in fact, I remember that there were statements before that were made that Quadcom will recommend the filing of necessary cases based on their investigation of the EJ case. So is this also a political strategy, meaning that the government is withholding the filing of the necessary cases even if they can or have initiated the investigations wherein they could have had the evidence there based on statements made by former President Duterte as one of the resource persons that attended those hearings that they also subpoenaed or summoned. So, but I guess by withholding that, then they can say, well, it's up to the ICC now.
Siguro, it was a matter of timing. No? I remember, when I still had the opportunity to somehow be close to those offices and officials, was this involved in the investigation. And I'm inclined to think that the position of the government, as revealed in the Senate investigation yesterday, was quite consistent. No? The ICC case was filed, if I'm not mistaken, not when he was mayor, when he was already president. And I'm inclined to think that there were no cases filed during the time of former Senator Laida de Lima's being Secretary of Justice. For obvious reasons, the one that was to file was supposedly, ordinary persons. And if I'm not mistaken, there were some reports that they were threatened or there were hesitations on the part of many of those wanting to file or planning to file a case. If you remember, one of the was this popular was this eyewitness or one of those involved, Matobato, suddenly was out of the picture, for whatever reason that is. Now, whether we like it or not, there will always be something political there because this guy is not only a former mayor, he was also a former president and a very popular person at that. Popular in the sense that he's popular extremely, as far as different sides are concerned. And so, in effect, he's a divisive figure. So, if I'm in government, in fact, there were some questions asked yesterday. Bakit ganito? Bakit meron kayong grupo? Malamang, syempre, talagang pag-uusap. Hindi naman pwedeng isang tao lang magdidesisyon yan, Atty. Karen. So,
what do you mean, grupo?
Yung tinatanong kahapon doon sa Senate investigation, meron daw po kayong grupo.
You mean si Secretary John Vic
That's right.
Remulla.
Ako, ang simple lang ang sagot doon eh. No? I mean, natural, ang sasabihin ng kahit na sino man, hindi naman isa lang ang magdidesisyon yan. Kahit hindi ka taga-gobyerno, it's quite easy to understand that it has to go through a discussion of some sort or a weighing of options as far as the government. Again, we're dealing with the former president, a very popular one, no? And whether we like it or not, any attempt to have him accountable will draw so much reaction, to say the least. And you want to manage that reaction.
But so Professor Ed, if you're saying wala namang problema if they admit, if the administration, cabinet members admit that nagplano sila, why did Secretary John Vic Remulla seem to backtrack on that statement? Because he was saying, hindi kami nagplano. We were just there to discuss a rumor that there was already an ICC warrant of arrest based on the statements made by former President Duterte when he was still in Hong Kong. So, nagkaroon patuloy ng comments si Senator Imee na, chismis lang pala. So, bakit pa nagtipon-tipon yung mga gabinete? Saya naman. So, I guess, like, if you check TikTok now, which I've been doing because I've learned to also, like, go through TikTok just to see the public sentiment. Pinagpipistahan po ngayon. Dahil, meron nga isa doon, ang hirap, Secretary John Vic, pagkalaban mo sarili mo. Because they were comparing his interview with what he was saying also at the Senate hearing yesterday, which seemed to be contradictory.
Alam mo, simple lang ang sagot ko dyan, Karen. No? And una, there's something wrong with the communications or the use of word. This is not the first time, I suppose, that a cabinet cluster or a committee, so to speak, will be convened for purposes of discussing options. But I don't think it amounts to or it is plain and simple planning. At the very least, at yung sinasabing pagmamarites, kaya nga intelligence yan eh. Talagang may pagmamarites dyan. Pag may narinig kang chismis, no, at ikaw ay nasa intelligence community, i-assess mo yan. Kasi minamanage mga, that's what national security means. You'd like to weigh, practically any issue that gets to you. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to, get yourself caught flat-footed, no? So, ang tamang term siguro dyan ay assessment. At yun ang sagot nila NSA, Anyo, and even Secretary Gubo, if I'm not mistaken. Yun ang kanilang sagot, no? Na hindi naman talaga ito planning na alam mo na step by step kung anong mangyayari. At sinabi din ni General Torre ito, may mga nakaabang sa Davao, may mga nakaabang din dito sa Maynila. At the end of the day, ang hindi lumalabas at siguro hindi nila naiisip na pwedeng tanggapin, you really have to manage the arrest of a very popular figure like the former president. And so whether we like it or not, there will be extraordinary steps that will be taken. Now, it is up to the expert lawyers. Ang daming biglang naging abogado, kaya nga nag-post ako eh.
What did you post?
I posted that suddenly, overnight, there are so many legal experts, international law experts at that. So, my point is...
Well, yung COVID, dumami rin naman po yung mga medical experts.
Ayun na nga. Kaya nga, alam mo, marami talagang marites eh. Pero hindi mo pwede kasing basta isang tabi yan. So there was something wrong definitely with the words used, whether by Secretary John Vic or what have you. But what I know, as far as being in government is concerned, is that when you receive any information, whether chismis lang or what have you, kailangan mo talagang pag-usapan yan eh. Kailangan mo talagang tingnan mabuti. Pero yung sasabihin na step by step planado, medyo malayo naman yun. But in this case, sino nga po ba yung step-by-step planado? Because to a certain extent, it was still seamless in a sense that there was a private jet waiting to take the president to The Hague. And that's something that you need to communicate ahead to the Netherlands because before a plane that comes from another country even lands there, all the proper documentation has to be made and then even the payment for a chartered flight. And I think at some point, someone revealed that it was under the funds of the Office of the President. So that also goes through a process within the government in terms of disbursement and the documentation. So there was still some planning involved. Well, there was planning involved definitely. But again, as to whether yun nga step by step, medyo sa tingin ko hindi consistent yan, no? Kasi may mga options palagi whether you're in government, even in the private sector, when you're dealing with an extraordinary circumstance, no? Kailangan mo talagang i-weigh yung options mo. Now, as far as the chartered flight is concerned, of course, I'm inclined to think na pagka-private jet, laging naka-ready yan, no? Hindi ko alam yung detalye na kailangan mo pala ng ganito doon or what have you. But again, no, the fact that the government has committed to whether the Interpol or the ICC or whatever, the options are available there as much as possible. So, kasama siguro yung jet dyan. No? Pero yun na nga, parang ang hirap isipin na kaya mong iplano to the dot yung nangyari. Bakit seamless? Yung mga taong involved naman, hindi naman ito mga walang experience no? I mean, General Torre was also the one involved in the
arrest of Pastor Kibuloy.
Of Pastor Kibuloy. Ayun, medyo mas mahirap 'yun kasi talagang he was holed up in a place that nobody knows exactly how and where, no? So eto, alam mo na yung options either lalapag ng Davao. In fact, there were also reports now na GMA came up with the report that apparently there was really an application for asylum in China. Ito, kailangan na naman sagutin ng mga abogado. Sabi, hindi daw pwede mag-apply ng asylum sa China dahil hindi naman daw siya part ng ICC. Hindi naman limited lang sa mga miyembro ng ICC ang asylum Kasama yan sa Human Rights Convention. In fact, mas maganda nga mag-apply ng asylum doon sa bansa na hindi miyembro ng ICC kasi mas may leeway siya. Ang dapat na itanong natin, kung nag-apply nga ang dating Pangulo, bakit hindi pinayagan at hindi pinagbigyan ng bansang China na alam naman natin doon na siya ang malapit?
Well,
no?
China came out with an official statement through their Department of Foreign Affairs spokesperson saying that they were calling on ICC not to be subject to politicization and being used as a political tool. So, what do you make of that?
That statement happened after the arrest already, Karen. There was no statement made whether there was an application or there was an attempt for the president to stay there. But let's try to marites na rin lang tayo, magmarites tayo. Nakaplano ba yung pagpunta ng dating Pangulo sa Hong Kong for a quote-unquote campaign sortie? Pangalawa, kung nakaplano, sino ang nagplano, sino nag-organisa? Lumabas din yan sa mga reports.
Okay, so sino nga po ba?
KOJC ang lumalabas sa mga reports. Na in fact, yung coverage naman ng buong campaign, KOJC ang lumalabas doon. It's also the network affiliated to them that was really reporting it second by second, minute by minute. No?
Yeah.
So, the question is, kung tinatanong natin kung nag-apply nga ng asylum ang dating Pangulo o hindi, siguro dapat tanongin din ng grupo nila kung planado nga ba itong campaign sortie na to. At kung planado itong campaign sortie na to, bakit sa Hong Kong? Hindi naman Hong Kong ang may pinakamaraming OFW. Ano? So kung talagang yun ang pakay mo.
Yeah. So the question there, I mean, based on your logic, why would the president then still come back to the Philippines? Let's say if they really had advanced information that there was an ICC warrant of arrest, why wouldn't he still go? Because he can buy time and go to the Supreme Court first, get that TRO before even going home. So why?
Exactly. Apparently, merong nag-traitor daw sa kanila. And yun ang hindi pa sigurado kasi ito talagang purely marites pa. Pero meron ng pahaging ang pangalawang Pangulo na meron nga daw traitor within their midst. No? There were even some posts saying that even a member of the family was the one that spilled the beans or probably shared information to the government or government operatives or what have you. No? And there were also reports that he was convinced by the family members to go back. No? And siguro, serve as some kind of a martyr or something to that effect. No? So again, whether we like it or not, intentionally or not, no? And again, these are all marites, no? Because I'm just sharing what came through the feed and our monitoring of the social media. But whether we like it or not, this is not just purely a legal issue. Political talaga ito. Dating Pangulo itong pinag-uusapan natin eh. So talagang maraming lalabas na ganyan.
But even the
mga
motivation
issue. Now,
to suddenly cooperate, because I think it's still conceded by everyone
That's right.
that the arrest could not have been carried out without the cooperation of the government. So that by itself is also a crucial decision.
Yeah.
And we're so close to an election. So do you think it was ill-advised na yung timing ng arrest ay ngayon ginawa?
Pupunta tayo doon. Tapusin ko lang
Sige,
yung sinasabi
tapusin
ko.
mo yung sinasabi niyo. Since
Kasi,
you said everything's political.
imposibleng walang intel ang dating Pangulo at ang grupo nila na meron ng arrest warrant. Yun yung pinakamalaking tanong doon. At nagkasabay kami ni Atty. Lambino. I think dito din sa Bilyonaryo News. No? I was on phone patch that sabi ko, umaga lumapag ang eroplano ng dating Pangulo dito sa Manila, kung hindi ako nagkakamali. And the arrest warrant was served to him. No? I think that was towards lunch or right after lunch and so on and so forth. The time that they filed a TRO was already afternoon. And they even had to resort to fake news saying that the Supreme Court already issued a TRO at that time. Now, after that, there were lawyers who are, of course, being lawyers, they know better, no? And that many of them said that hindi dapat TRO, dapat habeas corpus ang final ninyo.
Actually, as a lawyer, that was one of the thoughts I had as well.
Exactly. So, sa madalit sabi, yung tanong na bakit ganito, yun na nga, merong imposibleng wala silang intel. I mean, the former president, my goodness, I don't think that he doesn't have that capacity to have prior information. Now, the question is, why is it that the lawyers, many of them always with the former president, did not, prepare for it? Kahit nasabihin na natin na mali yung TRO, hapon na nag-file eh.
So, why do you think?
I have no idea,
was there
really.
a lack of preparation? If your sentiment is or guess is correct, that they should have some advance.
I have no idea, really. No, I mean, I hope, I hope that could be answered. No, but only someone who's very close. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not the kind of analyst who will always say, alam ko yan. Hindi ko alam eh. I mean, so I'd really say.
So here's the question. Let's go back to that question then. Given the timing of this arrest, and you've seen the mass actions, gatherings, prayer rallies, not just all around the Philippines, but worldwide. Do you think that it was ill-advised to conduct the arrest of former President Duterte right now, nearing the elections? But before you answer that question, Professor Ed, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. Professor Ed, you've seen the effect after former President Duterte was arrested. There have been mass gatherings, prayer rallies, not just all around the Philippines, but also all around the world. Do you think it was ill-advised to conduct the arrest of former President Duterte at this time, lalo na since we're nearing an elections?
Alam mo, my answer to that is also another question. No? It's not whether it's ill-advised. It's also a question whether the government had any choice. Okay?
Did they have any choice? Because based on the Senate hearing yesterday, it also came out that it was only diffusion notice, which is different from a red notice. So, as a lawyer, I didn't even know the difference between the two, but it was highly educational for me. But so parang yung urgency was not there. That's what I gather from the Senate hearing yesterday.
I also don't know the difference between what a red or a diffusion notice is. No? But the long and short of it is that we can't deny that the Interpol was there. I mean, the act General Torre and the PNP cannot act on its own without a particular warrant. Even the former president had the opportunity to read the warrant himself. And so I'm inclined to think that there was really such a paper, red or blue or whatever kind of notice that is. Now, whether it's ill-advised, I don't think that the government, whoever's making the decision there, whether it's a group of people or whether it's the president, did not weigh the options. Kaya nga kanina, I don't think that the right term is planning. Siguro mali yung ginamit na termino doon, or inassume na term. Kasi sa gobyerno, tuwing merong ganyang issue, you really have to weigh the options. And weighing the options includes the the impact or the consequences, the after event situation. And I'm sure, of course, if I'm not mistaken, NSA Anyo somehow indirectly mentioned this. Ang papel niya doon ay i-assess kung merong threat. Ibig sabihin, i-assess yung pwedeng mangyari in the event of an arrest. Okay. Anong basis ko for saying na winay nila yan? Alam mo, October pa lang last year, if you remember, they were already calling for another EDSA. There were several...
the Duterte
That's
supporters.
right. Wala pang arrest. There were... even the former president himself was quoted by the media saying that, let's go to EDSA, let's call for his resignation, blah, blah, blah. October pa lang yan. And sunod-sunod yan hanggang December. Meron pang Iglesia ni Cristo rally to that
January,
effect.
yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, in other words, expected talaga na merong ganyang mangyayari. Kaya nga...
So they expected that if they arrested former President Duterte, na magkakaroon
I don't think...
big public reaction.
That's right. I don't think that there was... I don't think that they did not see it coming or that they didn't expect it. Kasi nung una pa lang nandyan na. Pangalawa, yung kaninang pinag-uusapan natin, bakit ba umuwi sa Pilipinas? Yun nga, hindi natin alam exactly kung ano nangyari, but we can only ask questions as to why there was no preparation. It's as if they were caught flat-footed, and so dalawa lang yan. Either they were really surprised and caught flat-footed, which is, to my mind, rather unusual. I mean, the track record of the former president of being a political savvy himself. I don't think that lack of information is something that something of a characteristic for the former president. And so I'm sure there were information prior to his coming back to Manila. Now the question is, why is it that there was too late a reaction? So again, we're just asking questions here. So and I don't think it's impossible to think that they didn't see the political capital that can come out of this.
So you mean to tell me, nagpa-aresto talaga si President Duterte at he planned to be held in custody at The Hague?
I'm not saying that it's really intentional. All I'm saying is that I don't think that they didn't consider it being a political bomb of some sort. No? So, kaya nga sabi ko, kung hindi man sila naka-ready at talagang na-surprise sila, for obvious reasons, ginagamit ito for political fodder, no? So, what's my basis for it? In fact, pag tinignan mo, ang daming nagko-correct ng fake news. Merong lumabas na video, una, nakadungaw ang dating presidente apparently while in the custody of ICC, no? So, the video panned out. Biglang ang karakter nung mga nasa public, yung mga karatula sa street, hindi naman Netherlands yung karakter, parang Japanese. No? So kumakawa yung dating presidente noon, no? So napansin ko 'yon, so pinost ko. Pangalawa, meron na namang gathering, apparently mass protest in Netherlands din, no? So dami, no? Wala akong nakitang Philippine flag. Meron Dutch flag na nandun for obvious reasons. No? Pero pag tinignan mo doon sa dulo nung video, merong karatula ng isang enterprise na hindi din Netherlands.
So what is the point of all of this fake news?
Nag-crowdsource ako at apparently Russian character ito. At yung isang yung isang tindahan na nandun, makikita mo lang sa former republics under USSR. So
Okay.
again,
what
yung
is the
tanong
point of all of that
yung
fake
tanong
news?
mo I can't really say na talagang ginagawa lang nila yung fake news. Pero bakit ka nga gagawa ng fake news?
Oo.
O, isa lang naman ang sagot dyan eh. No? So you're really trying to draw the emotions of the people. You're agitating the people. Again, kung hindi tama yung ganong logical conclusion, October pa lang nagtatawag na sila ng EDSA.
So okay, so just to go back, when you're saying that everything is political, would you say that the arrest itself was also political? Because what confuses me is, what is the strategy as well of this administration? Because when it comes to statements, they have been consistent, including the president, current President Bongbong Marcos, in saying that ICC has no jurisdiction here, we're not going to cooperate with the ICC. And then to justify the arrest, they said that we just cooperated with the Interpol. But the source of that Interpol arrest is also the ICC. So parang merong clear statements na we're not recognizing ICC, we're not recognizing their jurisdiction, but all the other arms of the government is cooperating with the ICC. In fact, to fly him there directly with a jet that's paid for by the government is, to a certain extent, cooperating with the ICC. So parang ano po yung political strategy behind that?
Alam mo, wala akong sagot doon sa bakit nagko-cooperate sa Interpol, pero sabi hindi magko-cooperate sa ICC. Lumabas din sa Senate investigation kahapon. Sinasabi ni Senator Imee na hindi naman Interpol palagi ang ginagamit ng ICC sa pag-aresto ng mga merong kaso na pending sa ICC. So I don't know that as well. But the fact that that was mentioned, it means that the Interpol is not always involved, and that when we say Interpol, even China itself agrees that Interpol is an important international organization, and that China has always been cooperating with Interpol, at least as far as legitimate reports are concerned. And in fact, it's one of the reasons raised possible reasons raised why the former president was not granted asylum, assuming again that indeed he applied for asylum in China. Apparently, of course, China is one of those countries that really uses Interpol significantly, going after citizens who are wanted in the country. No? So, sa madalit sabi, if it's Interpol, it seems that many countries really respect or comply or cooperate with Interpol. So, ibig sabihin, kung hindi siguro Interpol yung ginamit ng ICC, baka sakaling merong rason for the government not to cooperate. Now, as to the question whether meron bang political reason, bakit inallow nila yung arrest, honestly, I have no idea. Again, precisely because drawing from what we were talking about earlier, hindi ba nila na-anticipate na merong ganitong magiging fallout? Na-anticipate nila yan kasi nga maaga pa lang alam na nila meron ng attempt to agitate the people to go down to the streets. And for obvious reasons, they were also using the former president even before his arrest. The former president was the one who's always with them during their campaigns. Again, sabi mo umaakyat yung ratings nila. Ang nakita ko lang na umaakyat ang ratings, Senator Bongo and Senator De La Rosa. I'm not sure of the other candidates.
Philip Salvador also went up in the Octa research survey.
Yeah, but when you say went up, what's...
Jimmy Bondoc. I think for IPE it was 24 points.
Yeah,
that's,
exactly. But what I'm saying is...
We have it here. Yeah, he's now 17 to 20 in terms of rank.
Yeah, 17 to 20.
Yeah,
pero alam mo kasi sa history ng survey, and again, makikita natin yan in all previous elections. We can reference that anyway. Pagka nagrarango ka ng 8 to 12, ibig sabihin, yan yung medyo critical na spot. In fact, ang sigurado ka lang dyan yung first 6. So yung 7, 8, pababa, medyo madaling magbago yan. Pangalawa, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, alin ba yung kaya ako hindi ko tinitingnan lahat ng survey. Ang una kong tinitingnan, Yung una, yung survey na may pangalan na. Pangalawa, anong ginamit na methodology? Merong isang survey firm na may pangalan na, no, na nag-release a month ago na ang tinanong lang nila 19 to 25 voters. So
Yeah,
mga
that's a
batang
very-
voters. Exactly. So, pero makikita mo lang kasi yan pag tinignan mo yung full
Yeah.
report. So bakit 19 to 25 lang, no? So, pangatlo, pag meron nagsa-survey dyan na social media, sikat na sikat kasi yung social media, hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yon. Unang, hindi ka makakakompute nga ng margin of error dyan eh. Hindi mo nga alam kung paano ka magsasampling kung hindi face-to-face, sir. And last but not the least, we still don't have the kind of infrastructure like in more advanced countries where you can do what they call real-time surveys, because a phone survey is real-time. You can immediately get the result. Dito sa atin, hindi naman lahat talaga registered. At kahit na registered yung SIM card mo, hindi ka sigurado kung nakarehistro doon, yun talaga yung may gamit noon. So, hindi mo talaga So, pag face-to-face survey lang reliable. Last but not the least, 2013, nagsimula na yung, let's say, mixed, I don't know how to call it, no? But the ranking is difficult to really predict because what's this electoral system parlance or jargon, multi-member district kasi, 12 yung binoboto natin. So sa madalit, hindi naman lahat bumoboto ng 12. Never akong bumoto ng 12. Binoboto ko lang talaga yung sigurado kong yung na-assess ko talaga, yung mga gusto ko talaga.
Yeah.
So sa madalit sabi, yung 12 na yan, hindi mo masabi talaga kung yan na yun, no? Case in point, in 2013, only one survey group, I think it was RMN, no, that predicted Senator Grace Poe to be number 1. Lahat ng exit poll nasa 8 to 12 siya.
8 to 12, ang layo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
sino ang number
ako,
one na pinipredict at that time? Or at least based on the survey, sino yung consistent na number 1? I'm so curious because
hindi ko na matandaan eh. Ang
kasi
natandaan
for
ko lang yung kay Grace.
2025, ngayon, for the 2025 elections, Erwin Tulfo is consistently polling number 1. So
That's
I'm curious to see if it will translate to the actual election results. But back in 2022, I can't remember who was polling number 1, but everyone was surprised to see Robin Padilla come out number 1.
Yeah.
So meron talagang, I guess like you said, talagang magkakaiba. Hindi mo masasabi na yun nasa surveys ang talagang lalabas sa results.
Ako, ang ginagawa ko palagi, just to be sure, is apart from us doing our own survey, except that kami kasi pag nagsa-survey, hindi naman namin pinapublicize unless the client ask it to publicize. Kasi yung survey naman, Karen, hindi naman yan talaga for public use eh. Yan ginagamit ng kandidato to find out saan siya mahina, saan siya malakas, at paano niya i-adjust yung kampanya niya. No? Ipapublicize mo yan, no? Para lang mapakita na, ito yung, makikita ng publiko yung trajectory mo.
Yeah. But would you say that we should not be publicizing surveys?
Not
so
necessarily.
that okay lang din?
Okay lang.
You don't worry that it can lead to mind conditioning?
Yeah, well, wala pa tayo doon eh, sa punto na, kasi in the first place, we don't have a political system, Karen.
Yeah.
No, we have a very archaic political setup, no?
Yeah.
Wala tayong political party,
Oo
no?
nga.
So dito sa atin, pag may pangalan ka at may pera ka, pagising mo sa umaga, wala kang magawa, takbo ko. No? So look at the kind, I mean, can you compare the Senate of like what, 10, 15 years ago made up of former Senator Salonga?
Mga statesmen is what they
exactly.
say.
Ikumpara mo sa ang layo naman.
Professor Ed, could the arrest of former President Duterte further boost Vice President Sara's political standing? But before you answer that question, we'll have to take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the Forefront. Professor Ed, Could the arrest of former President Duterte further boost Vice President Sara's political standing, in your opinion?
Let me answer that by saying the father is not the daughter, and the daughter is not the father. For a while, when the vice president took over as a mayor of Davao, if you remember the famous punch to the sheriff, yun naintindihan ko yun kasi.
Oo nga. When Vice President Sara was still a mayor of Davao.
Was still mayor of Davao.
I remember that incident.
The Vice President, at that time, I was comparing the father and the daughter. Stickler yan doon sa proseso, abogado din kasi. So, dinadaan niya muna sa proseso. Pero apparently, ang nangyari doon, may usapan na kung paano mangyayari, pinaalis pa din. So, doon siya nagalit. So, sa madalit sabi, last resort yung paggamit ng ganong option for then Mayor Sara. As Vice President, of course, there's no opportunity to see that kind of incident because iba naman yung position niya ngayon, I think. So, might be the reason why we didn't see a more contrasting reference, but the long and short of it is that whether we like it or not, the experience of the father is really significant, to say the least. So kaya nga siya political savvy, kaya nga meron siyang capacity to anticipate ahead, even 1, 2, even 3, 5 steps ahead of the competitor. Kasi iba talaga yung experience nung tatay. And last but not the least, pag nagjo-joke yung tatay, nasanay na rin tayo. 6 na taon siyang naging pangulo. So, may assumption tayo kagad na nagjo-joke, kahit na seryoso yung pagkaka-deliver.
Yeah.
But iba dito iba dito doon sa anak. So, will it impact on the popularity and support of the Vice President? Yeah, to a certain extent. But the people also weighs a particular political personality on his or her own stature or person. So I'm sure there are those who are supportive of the father who are not necessarily supportive of the daughter. And I'm very, very sure, and I know this firsthand, there are many supporters of the daughter who are not necessarily supporters of the father.
So may kanya-kanya pa rin sila talagang distinct personality, and also it reflects to their supporters.
That's right. In fact, yung grupo, the close group, the group that's close to the vice president, is different from the group that's close to the president, the father, the former president.
What about the effect of the arrest of Duterte to the administration? In yesterday's Senate hearings, some of the revelations included, I think one of the, I would say objectively, independent resource speakers was Attorney Alexis Medina. He's a constitutional expert who has written books, at least hindi yung mga lumulutang sa social media, but legitimate.
Yeah.
And he did say that he
Came
didn't
across,
even vote for President Duterte back in 2016. But he did say that he manifested during the hearing that the expulsion of former President Rodrigo Duterte may have infringed on several constitutional guarantees. So, for the public perception naman of this administration, how do you think this would be affected?
We have to measure that, Karen. Kasi, I've came across Attorney Medina, not only in the social media, but in some discussions. Pareho naman tayo nagtuturo sa Graduate School of Law. So, more or less, we're able to encounter which is notable personalities. But having said that, I also encountered the post that you gather in a room 2 or 3 lawyers and you'll have 100 at least opinions. Ang problema kasi yung mga abogado at yung mga nakakatrabaho ng mga abogado sanay sa mga maraming klase ng opinion na madalas nagka-clash na opinion. Pero pag sinalang mo yan sa publiko, madalas hindi nila nakikita na talagang maraming interpretasyon at maraming opinyon. At syempre, dahil nga divisive yung issue, ang tendency mo, ang kakampihan mo, yung legal opinion na papabor sa gusto mo o papabor doon sa paniniwala mo. Kaya nga, kahit nga magkakaibigan, magkakamag-anak, nagsusulian ng kandila ang nangyayari. No? Kasi nga, masyadong divisive without them really realizing that this is part and parcel and this is the nature of interpreting law or the practice of law.
So how do you think this would affect the perception naman of this administration, the arrest of former President Duterte?
Again, I'm sure that they have already expected that there's this going.
That there will be negative backlash? What do you think?
If it's a backlash, or if it's really a backlash, or it's was this generated or a fake backlash or organized backlash, I'm sure that they have already anticipated that. No, again, if they have already anticipated this kind of reaction, the question is, why did they still push it through? Why
that's
did
a good
they
question.
still allow
bakit
it?
Nga po?
Yun na nga. So I really have no idea. But if they think that this is something that's untenable, they would not have gone to that. Siguro, the only logical thing that I can think of is that any country signatory of international convention cannot just disregard or paano ba hindi susundin yung kanilang agreement, yung kanilang sinabi na gagawin nila, no? Because as ordinary folks, you don't see, no, the international backlash that can happen as a result of you not honoring your having been a part of a convention.
And Professor Ed, last question, since the title here is Marcos versus Marcos on FPRRD's arrest, what do you think would be the impact of Senator Imee being publicly seen as going against her own brother when it comes to this issue?
Again, I will have to go back to the metrics, no? But what I've seen so far in the social media is that it's, to say the least, it's really a mixed reaction. It's not, all in all, it's not just positive, no, for Senator Imee. No, again, precisely because the point is, what's the reason? No, what's the intention of the senator? No, why she had to do this investigation? Is it a way to assess ano ba yun? RA 8540 ba? Yung
9851?
That supposedly is consistent with our international obligations, that allows the government or gives the option to the government to was this a surrender an accused, no, or what have you. Hindi naman klaro doon sa investigation. Talagang freewheeling lang and so on. So and she was also asked at the end, magkakaroon pa ba ng second ang sagot niya, hindi siya sigurado. Kung talagang merong purpose yung investigation, kasi nga in aid of legislation ito, siguro it would have been a lot clearer. So if it's just plain and simple showing to the public that she's contradicting the president, I don't think it had much of a mileage.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Ed Tayao.
Thank you.
The Senate hearing, which investigates the arrest of former President Duterte, was led by no less than the sister of President Bongbong Marcos. This adds a new layer of complexity to the nation's political landscape. The implications of clashing views and political factions could have lasting effects on the country's leadership and stability. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again on Monday for meaningful conversations that would help you form an objective personal opinion. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.